Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Easy Does It. As you know, what we do in this show is we run through a staple concentrate and also the market share of it and its applications. So I'll kick this one off. As you know, we are discussing TFA Cheesecake Graham Crust, and I'll just go through the market share. So I went to ATF and I looked at the top 100 list, which is really nice and useful tool to have a look at. And I found that TFA Cheesecake Graham Crust is number 15 on that list, which already speaks for itself. It was one of the original first cheesecakes that became popular. So I understand that it's that high in the top 100 list. Right, but it's used in 6,199 recipes on ATF. Its closest competitor is Capella New York Cheesecake, which is sitting on the 21st spot on the top 100, which is only used in, not only, but also used in 4,327 recipes. So, I wouldn't say those two are neck and neck. There's a bit of a difference there. Obviously there's a new kid on the block, which is Inawera Yes We Cheesecake, which is amazing. And, we can't, if we compare the flavor, we know that that's a really good concentrate. But what the show is all about is just looking at the staple concentrates that you should have that will enable you to mix up most of the recipes. And if you look at the market share, it kind of speaks for itself there, right? I also looked at the in-recipe median. Now, I'll hand over now to Rudy to talk about applications, but the in-recipe median that I found on ATF is 2.6%, okay? There is some recipes that has pushed it quite high. I've seen it being used anywhere from 1% to about 3%. I'll be a little bit more comfortable around the 2 mark, but the in-recipe medium on ATF is 2.6% nonetheless. But yeah, Rudy, have you got some applications for us there?
Yeah, that sounds about right, the 2%. So it's generally about 2 to 4% depending on the application, as you say. So if it's used as a main cheesecake profile, it'll be closer to 3, pushing to about 4%, perhaps 5 if you're very adventurous. But 2.5%, 3% is the norm for most recipes. Because this flavor is so versatile, it can literally be paired with anything. From tobaccos to bakeries to fruits, it is extremely versatile because of its nature. And lots of people, when they try and equate it to Capella New York cheesecake, this one is more of a 50-50 sort of a cheesecake graham crust vibe with a nice pronounced coconut flavor in the actual graham crust element of it. And it is where the New York cheesecake is more cheesecake forward. This one is more of a balance. And because of that, it lends itself to other applications much easier. So if you're doing a fruit, you need a little amount. You need 3 or 4%. And it's used beautifully by one of my favorite users of it, which is Coop's Kiwi Cheesecake. So that's by ID10T, and it's a recipe that's been around for long. And he uses it there at 3%, and he pairs it with one fruit only, which is kiwi, FA kiwi at 4%, and just a little bit of meringue to bring out the sweetness. And that's a perfect use of it. So you get a full cheesecake flavor, a full fruit cheesecake experience using only 2 basic ingredients and then sweetened with a touch of meringue. The versatility of it is that it provides the cheesecake authenticity, but it can also add thickness and it can add mouthfeel. So if you look at some of the top-rated recipes that it's used for on ATF, the most mixed. So the first one is God's Milk by far. It's got 61 4-star ratings. It is a phenomenal recipe. It's been on the top since it came out, and it's used there at 3% to give it that thick milkshakey taste, and a little bit of texture, and then of course the mouthfeel. And it works. I mean, it works beautifully in there. If you omit it from there, the whole recipe falls flat, and it doesn't exist. It doesn't live anymore. Next one is strawberry shortcake bar, the second highest mixed recipe using cheesecake, and there it's at 1.5. So it's just a touch of it to provide a little bit of texture to give the outside coating of the shortcake bar, to trick your mind into believing that there's a crisp part to it. Together with a sugar cookie, it creates that beautiful crust around the ice cream. Then in the coconut milk, the lait de coco, it's used again, and you don't know that it's there, but it's there. It's 1%, and all it does, it just binds all the ingredients together and gives a bit of mouthfeel. Because the main flavor profile of that recipe in particular is coconut, the slight hint of coconut, which is in the graham crust, lends itself to that then, and then just binds all the other wet ingredients. So the coconut and the cream and the Bavarian cream, it binds it all together and creates a nice melded recipe. And then it's used in traditional single flavor cheesecake. So if you just want to have that and add a single fruit to it, it's there. You must up the percentage a little bit, but it provide you with a nice full flavor. If it goes too high, probably over 5, if you start hitting 6%, you get that funky off cheesecake note that is present in the regular cheesecake by TFA, which is a poor product. So this one is a fabulous product. I don't know if you can call yourself a DIY without this in your stash. I think this is one of the first ingredients one you have to buy, and it sets the base, and it does all the hard work for you. You don't have to create a base, a cheesecake, and build an actual cheesecake. The foundation is set, and you can just add anything to it to either have a cheesecake or to provide a mouthfeel, a nice, thick, dense, creamy, eggy, slight vanilla note to it instantaneously. And it is so versatile. I buy 50 mils of it at a time because it just goes so quickly. Yeah?
So, not much more I can add on to that. In my preference, I don't really like to go too high with it. I would say for me, 4 maximum, 4%. I prefer it in the 1.5 range because I generally only use it for in milks and stuff to bulk it up and to give it that thickness. So the first time I bought it was for God milk at 3%, as you mentioned. And I, from there, started using it in a lot of milks that I played around with and other milk recipes. Also, the lait de coco are also mixed up. And in the same way, definitely not as detailed notes as you have on that one, but it's a versatile concentrate, and I agree, you have to have it if you really have a DIY collection.
Yeah, the other thing, just one more note to it. So what its advantage is that this one is DARP free. So you don't get the nasties, and with that you don't get the coil gunking. So if you do use it at a high or a low percentage, as a solo or as a mix, you're not going to get excessive coil gunking at all. It doesn't have any of the nasties in. So as opposed to the Capella version, which is full of nasties. So that's full of DARP. This one doesn't. So that just it gives it a slight advantage, and hence its usage. I think people have realized that this one doesn't mess up your coil so much, and hence the proliferation of recipes and why it's rated so high.
Yeah, that will make it a little bit more commercial friendly as well. So yeah, pro tip there from Rudy. But thank you so much, Rudy. I think, there's a wealth of information. Deet's also, exactly the same on my side. messed around a lot with milkshakes and with milks, and this is what I would use in there at about 1%, 1.5%, just to give me a better mouthfeel, thicken things up. Lately, I've developed the cheesecake thing, and I've seen a Trinity cheesecake that was built. I've been vaping about 50 mils through Dave Berry cheesecake now, and that uses this as part of the Trinity. That's got Yes We cheesecake. It's got cheesecake graham crust, and it has New York cheesecake in it, Capella. And that's a beautiful, beautiful cheesecake base to work with. So even in modern applications, it's still being used. I think that recipe was created this year. So yeah, please go and check that out. But that pretty much wraps it up, guys. If you're looking at a cheesecake flavor that you can use in many recipes and that has many applications, this is definitely one to look at. And also from a commercial perspective, like Rudy said. Guys, if there's any other application that we've missed here and that we didn't mention, or another recipe that was interesting and that used this flavor in a different way, please leave that in the comments below so that we can share that knowledge for anybody that looks at this video in the future. Or if you've got any comments about what we had said, excuse me, any comments about what we have said, just leave those in the comments below. Thanks, guys. And thanks for watching the show.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.